With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to RaceSpotTV's coverage of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series, live from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway, as we just finished off a week of vacation, and we are back underway here with PRL competition at the brand new Atlanta Motor Speedway. Good evening, everyone. I am your host, Taylor Burris, and alongside me is Joey Tebben. Our producer tonight is none other than the great Hugo Luis. And Joey, it's a new week, a lot of exciting things happening here with the brand new Atlanta Motor Speedway that we see here tonight. This 1.5 mile super speedway definitely going to provide a little bit of a challenge to some of our competitors here in the PRL.
Yeah, Atlanta Motor Speedway might not be a new track in total, but this is the newest track on iRacing. It's the newest configuration of a track we once knew well, but now it's nothing like that. The old surface, the interesting track that we once knew, is now truly a super speedway, and we are in Georgia, and I think I might dare to say that it's going to be a little bit nuts.
A little bit nuts indeed, I would have to say, Joey, but we're going to see a lot of great racing action here with the PRL Cup Series. As we take a look at the schedule, we just finished up our second round of the season at Nashville 2 weeks ago. We are now kicking off our next round at Atlanta before we head to the short track of New Hampshire, Pocono, Indianapolis for the road course racing, Michigan, Richmond, Watkins Glen, and rounding out the season at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. A lot of great racing challenges as we take a look at the championship. What do we see here, Joey?
Well, James O'Brien has been the most consistent over the course of the season so far. It's only been a couple of rounds, but Chris Hudson has matched him. They're tied on points at the top of the table. Then Eric Hogg and Richard Regan Jr. right behind. We've seen this in the NASCAR Truck Series on Wednesdays as well. Everybody's been so equal through the first couple races of the season. There's just been no breakaway whatsoever, and this race is going to completely shake everything up too, guaranteed, because of how close they are.
Taking a look at the team standings right now, it is Love Racing who holds on by about a 5-point lead over the private label Team Hype, which has been such a dominant team so far since the start of the PRL of their entering into this championship. Phase 2 chassis work is currently sitting third in the standings as well, but a lot of great racing still to come, so we could see even a shakeup in the point standings before it's all said and done. Of course, tonight's race is utilizing the brand new NASCAR Cup Series next-gen car with the Ford Mustang, the Chevy Camaro, and Toyota Camry. For those of you who are new to watching PRL Cup Series on RaceSpotTV, this year they're utilizing the fixed setup, of course, giving drivers a chance to get acclimated to tonight's racing and with these cars, and especially at a track such as Atlanta with this new configuration is going to be critical. One attempt of a green-white checkered, four tire changes are allowed, and of course tonight's race is 140 laps or 90 minutes, whichever comes first here tonight. And of course, tonight's broadcast is brought to you by a wider range of partners for tonight's race, and we cannot thank them enough. Of course, the first one we have to say thank you to is none other than the VCO. Also, tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing. Make sure owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs, builds, and sturdiest, most durable aluminum profile racing simulations. Cockpits available in markets today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on Advanced Sim Racing products. Use the code PRECISION5 for your coupon code. Tonight's race is also brought to you by Race Labs. Race Lab app helps you to improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integrations you can use to get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelabs.app. Tonight's race is also brought to you by The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products and incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driving seat. And also, finally, brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial market? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage service. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulations. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance today. Practice has just finished finalizing. We are now getting set for qualifying here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Drivers, I gotta say, Joey, looking at the speeds compared to what we used to see the last time we were at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the PRL Cup Series, it was the old configuration. These cars were hitting close to over 180 miles an hour. Now they are actually struggling just to break into the 180 by themselves with this new circuit.
It's a very unique layout, and it's a very unique way to qualify. At this new configuration of Atlanta, at Daytona, at Talladega, they're tracks where you don't really have to lift. It's all about who has the heaviest throttle pedal, who can keep their foot down, who can keep the wheel as straight as humanly possible, who can build up the most speed using whatever tips and tricks they have. As you see Abner Acosta running the high line there on his first lap, it's a terrible first lap, a 32.2, but that's completely deliberate. You see him bring it back down here to the bottom, almost all the way down to the white line, left about a foot of space down there, and this is going to be the money lap. We'll see if he can beat the 31.5, which is Trent Dinkel's top time so far.
Trent Dinkel currently holds a 31.555. That is the fastest time of the race. Let's see what Abner Acosta can do as he comes out of turn number 4, goes right down to the grass to see if he can complete the lap. He picks it up as a 31.537, new fast time, and it's currently a 1-2-3 for private label Team Hype.
And no surprise to see that work. Abner Acosta running that high line on that first lap, and you can see the effects on the second lap. Beats every single other time in the field because he did technically waste one of his laps to build up that extra speed. Kevin Brewy here in the 10 car. I did not see his first lap, so I don't know if he did the same thing. We'll see what kind of lap time he can put down as he crosses the line. It's only a 31.8 which puts him outside the top 20, outside the top 22. So that makes me wonder, was that a warm-up lap, or did he just fail to build up enough speed on that first lap and he felt the effects?
Joao Guerrero now coming around to see if he can set a fast time. He has yet to start his first lap as he is working his way around the circuit. As he comes out of turn number 4, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do this time. Across the line, a 31.75. That will be good enough for P22.
P22 for Guerrero. Ricky Barbary was very, very quick in practice, but the problem is, with practice times, all the cars were on track, so we don't know who had the effect of a good draft, who had the effect of running in a pack. But Ricky Barbary all on his lonesome here. He's running that high line, but I don't know why he's doing that, because only 10 seconds left in qualifying. This first lap is going to be a write-off, and that's going to be his only lap. So Barbary's going to start all the way at the back here.
Not what he needs to do here, as qualifying has come to a conclusion, and we will give you your starting lineup for tonight's race. It is going to be a front row lockout of private label team hype with Abner Acosta with a 31.537 alongside Trent Dinkle. James O'Brien will be starting in third with Joshua Daniels in fourth position. Adam Zimke and Clayton Ham round out your top 6. Moving on to P7 and P8 will be Scotty Johnson and Corey Precker. Joseph Hogard will be starting in the 9th position. And then, of course, in the 10th position is Steve Lovings. P11 will be Elliot Butler with none other than Josh Cogger in 12th position. 13th will, of course, be Mike Witt with Eric Papineau in 14th. Brandon Walters returns to competition in 15th with Ryan Jones in 16th position. Baron Hilton and James Dower start in 17th and 18th. In 19th position will be Mark Kalin, followed by Kevin Bro in 20th position. 21st is Skip Candy with Tom Amacy in 22nd. 23rd is Joao Guerrero with Jose Medina in 24th. As we continue to watch on, the field now gets lined up behind the pace car. Currently, 34 cars have taken the grid here for tonight's action. Joey, want to come to you right quick as we just found out a couple of things regarding Abner Acosta. This is his 15th career pole in the Cup Series alone, 37th overall in PRL competition.
Yeah, if you want to know a driver who can master any kind of track, that's Abner Acosta. Remember a couple days ago, he was triumphant in the NASCAR Truck Series at Mid-Ohio here in the PRL. That's a road course. It's a very odd road course. It's a road course the trucks have never run before. Now, a couple days later, he takes it to Atlanta Motor Speedway, the newly reconfigured Atlanta Motor Speedway, where you don't have to lift, it's all power, it's no brake, and he still puts it on pole. This guy can do just about anything, and that's what makes him such a tough competitor to beat. But Trent Dinkle's also won this season alongside, so it's not going to be easy for Abner, but he's done the best possible thing here, and he's put it up front.
Can we get a sweep of the number 9 winning here at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend? We're going to have to find out. As we see the iRacing safety vehicle come out onto the racetrack, they will pace the field for one lap, and then we will turn them loose here for 140 laps or 90 minutes, whichever comes first. Take a look at some of the onboard cameras we'll get to experience here tonight. As they come out of pit road, we're on board with the SEG Esports Slipstream machine number 26 Chevrolet of Mike Witt.
Mike Witt starting a little bit deeper in the field than he would have liked. There's 10 drivers who didn't qualify. We'll see if we can scroll through some of them once the grid begins. There were 24 cars who set a time, 34 cars in the entire field. There were 3 drivers who weren't allowed to qualify due to penalties. Danny Cervantes was not allowed to qualify, Bill Petroff was not allowed to qualify, and Dan McLaren was not allowed to qualify, so we will see them at the back of the field if they are here tonight. Here's Chris Hudson, the number 43, tied for the lead in the championship. Again, a couple more rows back than he would have liked, but you can win from anywhere at this place, I think.
You certainly can. He's got a lot of work to do, but he's got a lot of time to do it. As we see Benny, the pace car driver, leading the field through the middle of turn 3 and 4. Newly added banking to this circuit here at Atlanta Motor Speedway is going to be exciting. We're happy to have you with us here on RaceSpotTV. Pace car pulls down onto pit road as Barney the Flagman has the green flag in hand. As he's waiting to enter the restart zone, green flag is out, and we're underway here at Atlanta. come across the line, it will be Trent Dinkle who will lead lap number 1 here today at Atlanta. Josh Daniels and Clayton Ham will move up into the top 3. Meanwhile, Acosta struggling a little bit there, tries to get to work with his teammate of James O'Brien in the 33 machine, as we see Daniels and Dinkle drop down to the bottom of the racetrack. Joey, this track here we've seen all across the iRacing service this week and in the real world of NASCAR competition. The bottom lane's okay for a few laps, but that top lane, that's going to be the area where we're going to see drivers utilize when we get into a longer run.
That is the place where you want to be, and I won't spoil the Cup race today, or actually I will, but if you don't want to hear the results of the Cup race, press your mute button in 3, 2, 1. We saw Chase Elliott win the Cup race today. He was on the top. He blocked a run from Corey LaJoie on the top, so that is 100% the place you want to be in both real life and on this service. But right now, early on in the race, Trent Dinkle seems happy to run down at the bottom a little bit, and everybody seems content to follow him. It is very early in the race, so there's no real reason to get very aggressive and push on for the lead so far, but it's very interesting to see that Dinkle is leading the pack down there from the bottom at this moment.
Riding on board with Trent Dinkle with Josh Daniels right behind him in the RaceSpot machine as they work down the back straightaway here. Drivers trying to get up to speed, currently going over 180 miles an hour before heading back into turns 1 and 2. Now the thing here, Joey, we're going to see late into the going here is for the first 5 to 10 laps, the car is going to be perfect. You can go flat out with this car for the most part, as we see a couple of cars in the back get a little bit squirrely. That's Joseph Hogart in the YS Ford. Caution is out for an incident out on the track. Kevin Bro is around in the 10 machine, stuck in the wall, backs it out in his vehicle, almost collects another vehicle.
First caution of the day. Remember, he was the last car to qualify. He only got one subpar lap in where he was building up to put a proper lap in, but he started at the back of the field, and sometimes that's the place to be if you want to stay out of trouble. But we'll see if we can catch a replay here of what happened to Kevin, because clearly he did run into trouble one way or another, and I have to imagine there was somebody else involved, but we don't quite know who it is yet.
We're going to find out momentarily as we get to take a look at the replay. And here it is, the Canadian of Kevin trying to work his way through. Ooh, looks like contact with the one of Baron Hilton. The checkup had nowhere to go, and unfortunately for Kevin, into the outside wall.
Yeah, no help there, but certainly was helped from the front. He had to check up for Baron Hilton, who just got out of line. A huge checkup, and it's such high speeds at this place that if your brake bias is messed up, if anything is going wrong, it is very difficult to check up for something like that. And unfortunately, Kevin's the first bystander. 5 laps into the race, anybody going to bring it down pit road? Of course not. A little bit too early. Let's ride on board with Kevin here. Let's see exactly what he felt as Hilton just lost focus completely. That's what happened there. He was just fixated on the car in front, lost focus, drove up into the wall, had to check up big time, bounced off the wall, and Kevin just had no time to react there. So that's bad luck for Kevin. It's bad luck for Baron for that to happen so early, but lucky that didn't collect any other cars.
28 degrees of banking here around this circuit. It's not as steep as what we usually see at Daytona, which we'll see at the season finale here in Season 3, and of course definitely not like Talladega at all either. But of course, this track here, people think that they can maybe go out a little further, but unfortunately, this track is just not as wide enough as Daytona or Talladega, so it's going to even be more condensed, more tight racing for these competitors here, and it looks like that's just the case what we saw with Baron Hilton. Lost focus, ran out of room, and unfortunately collected Kevin involving in this incident.
And that's something that Daytona and Talladega don't have. They don't have a quad oval. That's what makes this track so unbelievably strange. It's pack racing. It's essentially restrictor plate racing, but with a quad oval. So there's apexes and there's weird angles in the walls that just jut out. It is a bizarre facility that has been designed in iRacing and then brought to life in the real world. And you know, like you said, Kevin and Baron just unfortunately met one of the strange parts of this track with that quad oval, with those weird angles. And I don't think that's going to be the last time we see somebody wash up there, because you can wash up at a 4 and end up in that wall. We almost saw Dinkle do it on lap 1, but 133 more laps to avoid it.
We certainly did as we watch on. Another thing to keep in mind as well is for this season, of course, a new update before we kicked off the brand new season here with the PRL Cup Series, the integration of restart zones as we go on board with Tyler Justice in his Liquid Molly Chevrolet out on the circuit. And we got to see how this will affect. We really got the first chance to see it the last round at the Nashville Superspeedway. But this is a little bit more different, a little more intricate. It's been about a couple of weeks since drivers now are getting used to this restart zone that we're about to see happen here. And I gotta say, it's been difficult for some drivers this week on the surface here at Atlanta, and then some are able to master it quite well. What do you think we can see here when we get ready to take this restart zone?
Well, restarts are always what matters in a place like this, but I guess not at a place like this. At a track like this, normally you would want to have a great restart. You would want to jump out as far as you can, but this place, you don't really want to have that big jump. You don't want to give the guys as much time as possible to draft up to you, build up as much momentum as possible. So the new restart zone, it is hard to take care of, but these guys are well practiced. I imagine lots of these guys have run official races in this week. They've run practice races with their teams and the like. And Trent Dinkle, he's got a lot of experience starting up front. Joshua Daniels has a lot of experience starting second, so I'm not too worried about that.
As we'll see Benny, the pace car driver, make the hard left turn down on pit road. They now enter into the restart zone right about now. Wait for Dinkle to fire. Green flag is back out, and we're underway. A little bit of a slow start on the outside lane. Dinkle was able to pull away with help from his teammate of Abner Acosta. Daniels dives down to the bottom. It's a three-car effort for the private label team Hype as they work their way through. Daniels all by himself as we ride on board with Mark Kalin in the 62. That outside lane not getting up to speed quick enough compared to that inside lane.
The outside lane just kind of fell apart when all the private label drivers came together up at the front, and you can see the effects at the back here. Mark Kalin got checked up by the 99 of Brandon Walter, and there goes Joao Guerra down in the bottom. The purple car of Rye Jones got through as well. But Kalin doesn't want to go down to the bottom. He's happy up here on the top. I think he knows that this is going to be the place to be later in the run. So he's going to take those losses in the short term. Or, no, he's not. He does go back down there to get a little bit of run on the bottom. But I completely expected him to stay up there, take the losses in the short term for the benefits in the long term. And there he goes, back up top. I think he's just picking his places. He's going to go back and forth for a while now.
Now, one thing I saw with this race early on while competing on this circuit is that outside lane, you have to be careful for the checkups more so than the bottom lane. And it's very critical to here. We'll see that outside lane when they do get organized, as we're riding on board with Corey Precker in the 35 machine as he's the third car on the outside lane trying to get that momentum building, is watching out for the checkup on the outside lane. It's going to be critical for drivers, but it's also a chance for drivers behind to make up positions.
That is always the chance. You can make up positions when there is a checkup in front of you, but you have to be careful not to just run into the back of the driver in front of you who's checking up, or if it's through the quad oval like we saw earlier in the race with Brue and Baron Hilton, you've got to make sure you don't throw yourself into the wall avoiding a checkup as well. So that's the danger of this style of racing. There's very little margin for error, and if somebody does make that error in front of you, it's very difficult to, frankly, not hit the back of them.
Currently, right now, you see the 7 of Clayton Ham leading the outside lane. He's now starting to get a little organized. He's got help from the 54 of Josh Conker. And now, as we see the inside lane led by Trent Dinkle, they're starting to make a push for the front of the field right now. Clayton, with that help of Conker and working his way through the middle of turns 1 and 2, they have caught up to the third place car of James O'Brien. Now will Dinkle and Acosta go to the top side? They're thinking about it. They stay stuck to the bottom of the racetrack through the middle of turn 3 and 4.
9 and 5, they're going to be working together for a very, very long while. Don't expect them to break apart until about lap number 139, if they even do then. But Clayton Ham's doing a great job there, up on the high line, blocking everybody up, using all the momentum he can. And if he can stay up there, if he can get alongside Abner Acosta, and the top does start to work in, does start to be the optimal place, Clayton Ham's going to be in a great position here. But Acosta and Dinkle, that's going to be a tough pair to break up. They're still stuck right together here. Acosta took a peek to the high line a little bit earlier, but he's not going anywhere. He's going to stick all the way to the back of his teammate Trent Dinkle, and they're going to keep James O'Brien with him as well. Private label team Hype, they're going to be sticking together for probably 100 plus laps here.
Currently, 4 of the private label team Hype drivers are inside the top 5 at this time as they try to work their way through. Clayton Ham trying to break up the party as Dinkle goes to the outside, tries to block that run coming up on him. Now as they work through the middle of turn 3 and 4, Clayton Ham now gets to the outside of Dinkle. Side-by-side battle for the race lead as they're 2 by 2, at least 10 rows deep as they continue racing on, coming across the line.
I wonder if these guys are all talking to each other, if all the private label Team Hype drivers are talking to each other in a Discord server or something. Are they trying to work out a plan to get Josh Conker down there with them? He's working with Clayton Ham on the top, but there's been a couple moments where he theoretically could have slotted in between Acosta and James O'Brien, but he didn't go for it. He didn't go for the gap. He elected to stay up there in the high line. You can see, again, the gap does open, but it's just not timed well enough for Conker to go down and work with the rest of his teammates. He might actually be able to lead the line in front of him because Clayton Ham's just taking the lead.
Clayton Ham, your new race leader here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway as they work their way through the middle of turns 1 and 2, hitting speeds over 180 miles an hour down the back straightaway here. Big run for James O'Brien. Really has nowhere to go at this time as we watch them go through turns 3 and 4. Drivers now are starting to get through the phase where the tires are starting to lose a little bit of grip. This is where we'll see the cars starting to get a little squirrely, even more so in the corners. Drivers are now going to have to be careful of how much throttle input they are going to have in these cars as they work through the corners.
Dinkel peeking to the lead for just a moment there. Still early in the run, so I don't expect much tire fall off at this point, but like we saw in the race this evening in real life, like we've seen all week on the service, it is very easy on older tires to wash up into that top line, especially if they're squeezing as Ham gets a little bit loose on exit there. That's going to be worrying for Dinkel and Acosta if he's getting loose on exit there. He still manages to hold on to it, but I don't know, it doesn't look the most comfortable up there on the top.
Well, just to give you an idea, Joey, of how much fall off have they already have after running now closing in on 20 laps. They have already fallen off anywhere between half a second to even 0.8 of a second on their lap time.
Oh, I think Precker just got put in the wall.
Precker in the wall. Caution is out. The 28 and 26 machine of Skip Mike Witt involved in this, and it looks like also championship competitor Chris Hudson involved in this incident.
And Tyler Justice as well in the Liqui-Moly car there. I saw that in the background. They went 3 wide. There was a huge checkup, and Corey Precker was just the odd man out. He got squeezed up into the wall, and we'll see on the replay, he must have just come back down. Somebody else got loose. I believe it was Mike Witt. Here we go. See up there, the 35, the gray and yellow 35 in the wall. Mike Witt tries to check up, and then the 37 gets into him. Chris Hudson's got nowhere to go. Sean Powell makes it through, but yeah, that's what happens. Close quarters, nowhere to go, and just that little incident triggers all of that.
With this now, we are under caution for the second time here tonight. Now the question is going to be who's going to come down pit road. The answer is going to be no one at this point in time inside those of the top 10. But for several drivers, Chris Hudson has taken it behind the wall along with Kevin Brew as those two nights are done. Big hit in the championship for Chris Hudson this early on.
It is a big hit, but like you said, it is early on. There's plenty of weeks to recover for Chris Hudson, and the first 2 rounds of the season, he was not the quickest driver in the field. James O'Brien wasn't either, but the thing they both have in common is that they were consistent. They consistently got results, and those two added up to put them in the championship lead. So once those two find their way back up front later in the season, they're both still going to be championship contenders. But you see a couple drivers bringing it down pit road, a couple guys getting service, a lot of guys with damage getting service, but it looks like basically the back third of the field, Powell, Johnson, Papineau, Harvey, Dewar, Walden, Gandy, Amasi, Medina, Besaw Jr., tons of guys in the back trying to take advantage of basically the easiest possible strategy move you can make. You're already in the back, might as well take service, and they did.
Going to be interesting to see. Of course, those drivers will have a little bit more longer on the fuel window for these competitors here. Of course, drivers usually are going to be expected to pit anywhere between 50 to 60 laps here around this circuit as we ride on board with the 19 of Ricky Barbary. Let's see if he can make it through the chaos in front of him here. The answer is going to be yes, takes it down to the bottom of the racetrack. Great heads-up driving, was able to recover as well from a little bit of a bobble while trying to get back onto the banking.
It always helps when they put those giant aprons at the bottom of these tracks, and it always helps when you actually get your speed to wash up to the path of the other drivers. So fantastic avoiding action by Ricky Barbary. That's basically the perfect textbook example of how to avoid a wreck at this track, and he has reaped the benefits of that because he didn't come in under that last caution, and he is currently P15, so that's higher than where he qualified, and he's up in the top 15. He's got no damage on that car, which is better than a lot of drivers in this field can say. And we'll see what he can do once we restart here in, I believe, one more time around.
Well, the good news is for Ricky Barbary right now, he's had so far 2 races where he has not had the best of finishes. So could this be the night where it turns around for him? We're going to find out as we see the field double them up back 2 by 2 as we get ready to take the green flag. It will be coming to 22 laps complete here around the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway here for the PRL NASCAR Cup Series here on RaceSpotTV. We're happy to have you with us here if you're watching on RaceSpotTV. And of course, the field is going to get doubled up once again behind Penny, the pace car driver. Action about to heat up once again as we go back to our second restart of the night. Everyone trying to get themselves sorted out. We have, of course, the Team Hype drivers currently holding on to 4 out of the 5 in the top 5 currently. Clayton Ham, the only private label Team Hype driver inside the top 5. And then, of course, the next one would be Joshua Daniels and Elliott Butler as the pace car peels down onto pit road. Field trying to get themselves organized. We see that happening here. Some drivers backing off a little bit. Green flag is out as we're back underway here at Atlanta. A great jump by Dinkle, but it's going to be enough, though. Could he hold on before this momentum comes his way as they work their way through the middle of turns 1 and 2? As we see Butler dive to the bottom of the racetrack as the outside lane breaks apart.
That was a very odd start on the high lane. Clayton Ham is a fairly normal start for him, a little bit slow, but Josh Conker left him about 2 car lengths in the restart zone, drove up to the back of him, and then just stalled out. There was no momentum whatsoever there. The restart, as you see everybody start to fan out here through turn 3, that does show you a little bit of the fall off, a little bit of the worst handling that has come of the fact that we've run 20 laps on these tires already. And Daniels is going to lead the high line now. Clayton Ham, with that restart, has lost the lead, and Josh Conker has made it 4 private label Team Hype drivers on the bottom. So everything's changing up front.
Trouble for Sean Powell in the 45 machine. He goes below the racing circuit here, and he is falling like a rock.
Oh,
now.
Ham was in the wall.
Ham was in the wall as well, as we see the Phase 2 chassis work driver of Sean Powell trying to recover. As Ham now recovers as well with his incident on the circuit. He still maintains inside the top 7 currently at this time, as he'll dive to the bottom of the racetrack, and Daniels will fall back to the back front bumper of Mark Kalin in the 62.
I didn't see who was following Clayton Ham, but him and whoever was behind him, they just washed up into the turn 3 wall, and Mark Kalin's going to do the same thing. Barely stays out of it in the orange car in the background there. Clearly a lot of handling troubles for these drivers on old tires. Clayton Ham knocks the wall down. Mark Kalin almost knocks the wall down. Who's next?
One thing I can say about this circuit when it comes to racing at Atlanta, if you hit that wall, you're stuck up on that outside wall. As we take a look at the replay here of Clayton Ham, gets the wall and almost gets it stuck up there, but is able to get off of it as quickly as possible and is able to recover to a 6th place position at this time.
And everybody just running single file for the moment is probably the smart thing to do. We've seen what happened when you're trying to run on the high line. The handling's not really there to run that high line at the moment. If there is, Clayton Ham couldn't quite lead it. He's going to go back up there, actually. Is anybody going to follow him? Zemke thinks about it. Kalin's going to stick it up there. He's not giving up, but 90% of the field is. There goes Ham. Ham's washing up almost into the wall again. He does better that time. I still don't know if the top is the place to be yet.
Top side lane trying to organize, but so far to no avail. Currently is held by the 7 of Clayton Ham, the 62 of Mark Kalin, and I believe the 37 of Eric Papineau as well. Those 3 drivers trying to make it work. They're getting a couple of more drivers to help them out on the outside lane as you ride on board with the SGE Esports Slipstream machine of Eric Papineau. As they work their way through the middle of turns 3 and 4, a little checkup as Kalin gets a little loose, but they try to get it organized currently. About 5 cars on that outside lane at this time compared to everybody else on the inside.
And everybody on the high line seems to have learned from those scary moments on the restart. I guess they just weren't expecting what was coming of them. They just weren't expecting to get that tight, but they have learned. Clayton Ham and Mark Kalin both still definitely getting very tight in turn 3. Elliott Butler goes up there in the top with them. He washes up a little bit too, but the high line is forming up. It looked like a lost cause a couple laps ago, but now they've got a solid group of 5 or 6 drivers up there. Conker's losing his teammates. Look at that huge gap. Maybe the top is the place to be right now.
starting to become that way right now as Butler gets around Conquer. He'll dive down to the bottom of the racetrack. That leaves now Clayton Ham to lead the outside charge. Meanwhile, a little further up ahead, your top three private label cars are starting to pull a little bit of a gap now as they still stick to the bottom of the racetrack. Butler now gets to the back bumper of James O'Brien as you ride on board with Josh Daniels. Now go back here as we see these drivers jockeying for position here. 30 laps are on the board as they work their way back into turn one.
Ham has got the lead of that top pack back as Butler went down to join the three leading private label team hype drivers, and that foursome up front just seems untouchable. Ham and Conquer, neither of them were able to catch him on that last lap. They are making up the gap just a little bit right now, but it really seems like those three private label team hype drivers are the class of the field right now, and it's almost impossible to break up a triumvirate like that of drivers who are all working together. They all have one strategy, they're all working on it, and they're not going to fall apart. They're probably all talking to each other, and that is very scary if you're one of these drivers who has no teammates up here, or if you're an independent driver who has no help whatsoever.
Mark Kalin dives to the bottom of the racetrack. He wants to now go to the bottom lane and knows that that's the right way to go as they come out of turn number 4. Kalin goes down to the bottom. He'll now get side by side with Clayton Ham as he now gets in front of Josh Conquer for position, working their way back through the middle of turns 1 and 2. It's a 4-car breakaway on the bottom of the racetrack. Then it's 2x2, fifth on back, multiple rows deep. As they work down the back straightaway, they now go up to the top side, your top 4. As they're trying to gather on, you're on board with Kalin, who tries to see if he can keep pace with your top 4.
You can see him almost wrestling the car to stay down in the bottom. You saw him on the previous lap washing up a little bit on the bottom line, but he's being extra careful. He doesn't want to wash up into Clayton Ham. He knows they've both had trouble getting tight through some of these corners, but Kalin is both getting squeezed down and also squeezing himself down to the bottom, and Clayton Ham is completely clear there. You see him cross over the nose of Kalin, and if he wants, he can go down there to the bottom and help out the private label team hype drivers, but he says, nope, I'm staying up here. I'm still going to leave this top line. It'll work out eventually.
Field has already fallen off a second off their lap times here, make it over a second now as they have completed over 30 laps around this circuit for those who have not pitted yet at this time. They're about halfway through their fuel run here tonight at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. A little bit of jockeying for position. The car's getting a little bit loose, gathers it back up, and continues on, but a big save by multiple drivers out in the middle of the backstretch.
Look at the 37, the gray car, fourth in line behind Clayton Ham there. That is the first driver who took tires under that previous caution. So very happy to know. He's the one to watch here. He's the one with those freshest tires, the freshest equipment. You can see just through turn 1 and 2 there, how much quicker he is than Clayton Ham through the corner, how much he's able to just hold the car down to the road. He's clearly got pace in that thing, but he needs somebody to help him get up to the front, and Clayton Ham's going to take the bottom now. It's all switching apart, and they almost throw it to the wall on the high line.
Drivers now starting to go to the top side of the racetrack as the tires to continue to wear off. How about 3 wide, a little bit further back for 10th position as they jockey for position. Still Trent Dinkle and Abner Acosta leading the way. Clayton Ham tries to get the bottom lane going once again as the field now plays follow the leader on the top side.
Clayton Ham's just falling and falling and falling, and I bet he's wishing he didn't leave the top line. He tried to go for position, but it's not quite working out. He's down. Now everybody does go down to the bottom for turns 3 and 4. But yeah, he's just getting swallowed up. Steve Loving, Elliott Butler goes up top. The whole train's going to get by him, and he's got to find a way to get back in line.
Field now working their way through the middle of turns 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway they're going to go is still Trent Dinkle. Papineau has moved up to P2 right now. Now has fallen back to P3. He's side by side with James O'Brien. He has help from the 91 of Rye Jones, who sits in 6th place as they rocket off and turn number 4 down across the front straightaway here. Cars jockeying, getting a little sideways as they come across the line here. The outside lane now has another 2 additional private label team hype cars as now all 4 of them are back together again. Josh Conquer, the 4th man on the outside lane. As as we continue to watch the action once again here at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. James O'Brien, Josh Conker now throwing the blocks to both lanes, trying to keep their private label teammates of Trent Dingle and Abner Acosta up towards the front of the field. And as they do that, Papano along with the 77 machine make that actually the 27 machine of Stephen Lovings now try to find openings here, along with a 6 of Tyler Justice.
Tyler Justice, that's remarkable. Remember, the last caution, Tyler Justice was one of the cars who got caught up in the Corey Precker and Mike Witt and company incident, but clearly the damage to that car is not especially bad. Look at him setting it 3 wide through the middle between Ryan Jones and Papino, but he's got to be careful or else he's going to be another caution of his own.
Riding on board with the 6 machine here of Tyler Justice, who sits 3 wide. Does he hold on? He's in the sucker hole. He's got to hold on a little bit longer. Tries to get the run and gets around Ryan Jones. Not going to be able to do it. Has a little room, but now gets blocked up. Now goes to the top side of the racetrack in front of Elliott Butler.
James O'Brien clearly struggling on the bottom. He's red number 33 in your frame there, having a little bit of trouble on exit. Tyler Justice is driving that car. 1 minute of repairs has clearly brought that thing back into complete fighting shape, and he is getting aggressive. He knows he's got speed in that car, but I don't know if going through the middle with no help is the way to move forward, and he's given up the fight just a little bit. He's got back up into that high line. He's going to try and work a little bit more with some of those private label team hype drivers like Trent Dingle, who takes the lead.
Trent Dingle still maintains a race lead. James O'Brien did have it for a brief moment down the back straightaway. Josh Conker, as well as we're going to go 3 wide, a little further back as they work across the start-finish line. That was Papano, Rye Jones, and Elliott Butler, who went 3 wide down in the front straightaway through the tri-oval. As drivers are now struggling for grip, trying to find what they need in order to make these cars stick to this racetrack. Lap traffic up ahead for your competitors and leaders.
Lap traffic can be difficult at a track like this. There's not much space. There's barely 3 lines under racing conditions, but especially when there's a very slow lapped car in the way, that can make things very difficult. Skip Gandy and Baron Hilton, I believe, are the 2 cars up there. They're running damaged. Mike Witt as well. He's running damaged. The 20's running damaged. They're working together, so I don't really expect them to get lapped, especially once our leaders and the rest of the gang have to bring it down pit road, but if they do get caught, that's going to be a scary situation, but I have trust in them to get out of the way.
Currently, 29 cars are on the lead lap as we see drivers trying to hold on to their race cars here around the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. Under 100 laps to go as they come across the line. It is still Trent Dingle, your race leader. Acosta second. James O'Brien holds on to the 3rd position as a jockey for position now. O'Brien looks to the inside of Abner Acosta, out of 2, down the back straightaway. Dingle still holds strong for the race lead as they come back into turn 3.
We are approaching that critical mark, about around 50 laps. If you do want to split this race evenly, 3 ways. Coming in around lap 50, maybe even right now around lap 45 might be the time to do it, but the cautions have extended this run a little bit, so drivers might elect to just go as long as humanly possible. I would expect all these private label team hype drivers to come in together, so when they do elect to come in, you'll see Dingle, Acosta, Conker, O'Brien, all of them will likely bring it down in a pack together, but I don't think we're going to see that for a couple more laps, at least past lap 50.
Ooh, big checkup right there on the outside lane. That now gives James O'Brien a big race lead advantage, but he will get swallowed up very quickly by the draft as they start to catch back up to James O'Brien as you ride on board with Trent Dingle. And he will gather it back up and now lead the top side lane. Clayton Ham is the leader on the bottom of the racetrack with help from Joshua Daniels and the 37 of Eric Papano. As they continue to race on down the back straightaway, still a couple of drivers trying to consider taking it 3 wide as they enter into turn 3 and 4. Clayton Ham looking for an opening to try to get that inside lane moving here at this time, but not able to make it work as competitors still jockey for position, trying to find where the runs are coming from. As Conker almost goes to the bottom of the racetrack, shuts the door in front of the 27 of Steve Loving.
And what a drive Clayton Ham is having there down on the bottom. I rode him off about 12 laps ago. He was falling through the field. He was almost outside of the top 15. And suddenly, while we weren't looking, he's back up here fighting for the top 5, even for the lead down there on the bottom. So Clayton Ham, I guess we can never write him off all night. Now he's got a buddy down there on the bottom as Conker leaves his teammates and he's going to lead the bottom line.
The draft is the great equalizer, as they always say, when it comes to super speedway racing here, and especially for the first time in competition for the PRL at this brand new Atlanta Motor Speedway, as a big run by Rye Jones gets to the back bumper of the 6 of Tyler Justice down through the back straightaway heading into turn 3 and 4. Great racing action here tonight through the PRL Cup Series as they jockey for position, looking to see if they can build a run and get things going to take the fight to the top 3 of the private label team hype drivers as they work their way back into turns 1 and 2.
At a few other drivers who are on those fresh tires from that previous caution. Jose Medina has also made his way up here into the top 11. We talked about Eric Papineau. He was getting very aggressive up front, but he has fallen back to 10th. It seems like everything's equalized its way out. Tyler Justice is still stuck in 7th. So these guys on these fresher tires, they're certainly quick, but they just meet a wall, and I think that wall is just all the private label team hype drivers. If you can't get past them, you can't move any further forward in the field, and that's just what's been happening to everybody who's tried to attempt to make their way up front. And even if you are on those much fresher tires, you're on that much quicker equipment, you're just destined to stay in 5th or worse right now.
Corey Precker, who was involved in that incident as well, he has now worked his way back into the top 15 in the 13th, 12th, 11th position right now as he's battling with Sean Powell. There you see Precker in the YS Motorsports Machine Ford as they get their run going here on the bottom of the racetrack. He's the 4th car on line on the bottom, make it the 5th car as they work back to the top of the racetrack. He's got Brandon Walters behind him, the 24 of Jose Medina as well on the bottom in the 24 machine as they try to get a run going to catch up to Joshua Daniels. Just to let people know how close the racing is right now, all 28 cars are separated by less than 3 seconds. Now, originally, when we came here to Atlanta, that's what we would probably see maybe for your top 5 is separated by 3 seconds. But for 28 competitors, that just shows how much speed and how much competitiveness here is in this field with this new configuration.
Everybody's stuck together, and we cannot write anybody in this field out. As in the background there, Adam Zemke, he does put it in the wall. I think he definitely scraped the wall there out of 2. And look at the top line. Look how badly everybody is just fading up to the wall. You cannot blink. You cannot make a mistake. You cannot breathe for a second because you will throw it in the wall there in turn 3. We've seen it happen a couple times so far in the race, and the tires are only getting worse. It's only getting harder to drive on the high line. Sean Powell, we ride on board with him. Haven't said much about him in the Cup Series over the course of the season. Of course, he won the first truck race of the season in his PRL debut at Nashville. And surprise, surprise, driver does well in a truck, he does well in a cup car as well. And he's able to run lower than just about anybody else. And you know why? It's because he's on those fresher tires.
New driver goes up to lead the inside lane. That is the 6 of Tyler Justice. As competitors are jockeying for position, looking for an opportunity to get the race lead away from the stranglehold of the private label team hype, and that's going to look like to be Tyler Justice. Has a big trouble back in the field, and it's 2 of the YS machines of Precker and also Clayton Ham here. A couple of other cars were collected in this incident, but not what we needed to see for the 2 YS Motorsports machine of Ham and Precker.
That's going to be very disappointing for those two, especially if it was a teammate coming together. Clayton Ham was having such a solid drive. He was one of the most aggressive drivers, one of the strongest drivers in the field, it looked like. And Corey Precker was having such a great recovery from that earlier incident. We'll have to wait and see what happened. Here we go. Here's the replay. Precker, that yellow and gray car on the bottom. Papineau in the middle. Oh, and Clayton Ham just completely innocent there as Precker and Papineau come together. And again, lucky that nobody else was involved there. But yeah, that's just what can happen when you run 3 wide here. It's very difficult to leave enough room for the driver on top or for the driver on the bottom. And for those 3, it did not end very well, and I don't know if Clayton Ham's going to be able to come back from that. That was a big hit into the wall.
With that, everyone inside the top 10 is now coming down pit road, including everybody else as well, as it's time for the first round of pit stops for your race leader. Now the question is going to be, for those who pitted earlier on who took tires, this is going to be their second set of tires that they're using up now. 57 laps completed here as they worked way into the pit box. What will these drivers who've already pitted once have to consider doing here as they see the drivers go up onto the jacks of Abner Acosta They'll go around here to go to the other side and go up on the jacks. And we'll see who wins the race off pit road. And it looks like to be Tyler Justice. We'll have to wait and see. I think maybe James O'Brien wins the race off pit road that time by, followed by Justice, Acosta, Trent Dinkle, Rye Jones, your 5 drivers, as Corey Precker in the 35 decides to stay out.
That's interesting. I imagine he'll bring it down pit road next time by, but you just saw every single driver in the field put 4 tires and fuel in the car, so I don't think anybody thought it was worth it to keep those old tires on. You see the effects of very old tires, and there's enough sets that it's definitely worth it to bring it down pit road and take a fresh set of 4 tires. And Tyler Justice, again, with that minute and 30 seconds of repairs from a couple cautions ago, who'd have thunk that he'd be restarting on the front row here? Well, front row assuming Corey Precker brings down pit road, which he would be very smart to do. Let's see if he does it.
Now, Joey, here's a question for maybe later in the run. Now, we raced here at this circuit. I had the chance of racing at the circuit, and one time I actually took 2 tires in a run to see how the car is, treating it like what we see at super speedways, such as Daytona Talladega, where drivers either take no tires or 2 tires. And the 2 tires actually, by the looks of things and the feel of things, the car actually felt much looser than if I took 4 tires or no tires. Do we think we'll see drivers considering that action here in this race, or will we see 4 tire pit stops or no tire pit stops all throughout tonight's race?
I think when it comes down to it, at the end of the race, if we have a green-white checker situation or if we have a restart with 5 to go and the whole field brings it down pit road, it might be worth it to not take any tires or to even take 2 tires. But I truthfully don't know. 4 tires just seems to always be the way to go. And at this new track, you can get away with it, and it does give you the track position. But I don't think the risk is worth it because you're just going to get swallowed up. And speaking of getting swallowed up, Corey Precker didn't bring it down pit road. He's going to restart in the lead here. He didn't hit the wall especially hard, but he hit another car very hard, and he did scrape the car along the entire back straight wall. So this is going to be a very interesting restart if we got a damaged Corey Precker starting in the lead here.
It's Corey Precker, James O'Brien, Tyler Justice, Abner Acosta, Trent Dinkle, your top 5, followed by Rye Jones, Sean Powell, Steve Lovings, Joshua Daniels, and Josh Conker. Your top 10 as Benny, the pace car driver in the iRacing pace vehicle, will take the hard left turn down on pit road, and the hardest working man in iRacing, Barney the Flag Man, will wave the green flag momentarily as they make it into the iRacing restart zone. And we are going to get back underway here with competition at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. Green flag is out. Precker does not get a good jump. Actually gets a little squirrely, but gets help from Tyler Justice to push him up through the field. Meanwhile, here comes James O'Brien to the outside, but will get blocked by Precker as they work their way through the middle of turns 1 and 2.
Precker not only has damage, but he has 38 lap old tires. So he is a sitting duck of the sittingest, duckest degree. But somehow he is hanging on to the lead as Kalen ducks down below the apron. He can see the incoming checkup. And there goes Precker. Bye-bye. Dinkle and Justice 3 wide. This is dicey stuff. The whole field's got to get around Precker. But that is going to be tough to do when you're all 3 wide.
Still 3 wide as they work their way through. It's Jones, Precker, Justice, and Dinkle. Meanwhile, Costa and O'Brien have checked out by about an 0.8 of a second lead. And we're going to go 4 wide. Trouble in the back straight with Jones and Precker go around.
You could see that coming the second they went 4 wide. That was never going to work. Jones just could not clear Precker. He could not fit in that hole. And we've wrecked a bunch more cars. Scotty Johnson in the 07 was involved. You could see that coming. I respect the risk that Corey Precker took there, but when a car is that much slower up in the front of the field at a track like this, you can kind of see that coming.
Yeah, I also have to respect the strategy called by Corey Precker, but when you're 4 wide like that, it's best to just let it go as the pace car is now working their way into turn number 3. As that was an instant, we got to get a replay look at this because this was incredible. This was chaotic. As here we go out of turn number 2. 4 wide. Rye Jones sends it up the middle, makes contact with Precker. Nearly collects several more drivers. Who else gets involved? A couple of more cars get loose behind. It actually gets much worse actually behind Rye Jones and Corey Precker.
Yes, Scotty Johnson, you can see him down there. Elliott Butler managed to avoid the incident, and Ryan Jones is backing it all the way into the middle of turns 3 and 4. If we could ride on board with one of those guys a little bit later, you can see that there's just absolutely no room. You can fit 3 cars wide here. It's very dicey, but you cannot fit 4 cars wide here. That's what happens when you try and do that. And I don't think anybody's going to try and do that again in the next 80 laps.
I would hope not either. But as we watch on this racetrack here, as it looks like the 26 machine of Mike Witt will get one of his 12 laps back. Currently 28 cars are on the lead lap at this time. That number may grow a little bit here as drivers are on pit road trying to repair their next-gen Cup cars. As a couple of cars will leave off of pit road. Let's ride on board with Brandon Walters as he sees the chaos in front of him.
Yeah, he sees Jones peek to the middle, and I imagine he was thinking, oh boy, here we go. Well done by Brandon Walters. Just avoids everything. No drama for him whatsoever. Avoids all the carnage. But there were a couple drivers who did not. You see Scotty Johnson in the pits. Robert Besaw Jr. Waldo Walden didn't make it through. Clayton Ham still on pit road. Mike Witt's getting more damage fixed. There's a lot of cars in the pits right now. And here we go. Here's Joshua Daniels. He was behind it. He was directly behind what happened. He sees Jones go through the gap. And it's just a racing incident at that point. There's just not room for 4 cars, whether Precker faded down, whether Jones faded up. It doesn't really matter. That's just what happens when you go 4 wide here.
Certainly is. Of course, Brandon Walters, the defending race winner at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway earlier this year at the, of course, PRL Season 2 Championship Series event back earlier on this year. As we will see competitors now get doubled up and ready to go racing once again here at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. We have completed 62 laps, currently on lap 63 of 140. And looking at the time, about 41 minutes left to go in the race. So as long as we maybe keep it green here for the next several laps, we should be able to make it on the full lap distance of tonight's action.
I think we would have to go caution-free for that to happen, just doing the rudimentary math in my head. But I don't think we're going to go caution-free all the way to the end. So I imagine a little bit later we might have to start thinking on time, but right now it's going to be basically guaranteed one more stop to the end, I think, no matter what the time is. So that's how the drivers, I think, are going to be approaching this strategy. They're going to go as long as they can until they have to finally make that stop. And whether it's 40 minutes or 80 laps, it all divides the same way.
Certainly is. 2 cars are out of tonight's race. Once again, that's Chris Hudson, who is your tied for the championship leader in the standings, and Kevin Perot as well. And 28 cars are still out there on the lead lap. 4 cars, 1 lap down. That's Clayton Ham, Mike Witt, Skip Gandy, and Barron Hilton as Barry, the pace car driver, makes the hard left turn down on pit road. And as they enter into the iRacing restart zone, a little bit of checkup, and green flag is back underway here once again at Atlanta, and a big checkup towards the back half of the field.
But look at the private label Team Hype drivers all formed up together, 1 by 2 by 3 by 4 up there on the high line, and they're fighting with those 2 Phase 2 Chassis Works drivers who are together on the bottom.
Caution is out once again now as we're back underway. Big trouble for Ryan Jones, the 1 of Barrett Hilton, the 07 of Scotty Johnson, and it looks like the 3 of Robert Besaw Jr.
Those are all guys who already had damage, so they must have all wrecked at the back somehow. Scotty Johnson, Besaw, all those guys had been down pit road. Some of those guys were multiple laps down. So I imagine there must have been a huge checkup at the back of the pack for that to happen.
I think it might have had something to do with the 67 of Pat Harvey. He was having some computer issues on the track, as it looks like Scotty Johnson has taken it behind the wall. Yep, right there, 67 of Pat Harvey had nowhere to go for some of these competitors.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate. When a guy's blinking like that and he's also extremely slow, I don't know what was going on with Pat Harvey. I don't know why he was that slow, because we physically couldn't see him. But that time, Rye Jones just had nowhere to go, did nothing wrong, and then Besaw, nowhere to go as well. So a lot of drivers that already had damage, that were already having bad days, their days have just gotten a little bit worse.
Certainly has, and with that, that is going to be 4 retirements here tonight, Scotty Johnson and Pat Harvey.
We only got about half a lap of actual racing there, but some drivers elect to bring it down pit road. Mark Kalin brings it down pit road. I didn't see who that was following him in. I believe that might have been Joshua Daniels. No, it wasn't, but it was Ricky Barbary as well. So some drivers think, you know what, might as well bring it down pit road now. There's no way they can make it to the end from here, but I guess if you're already at the back of the field, if you're already in the middle of the field, clearly they think something beneficial is coming of pitting when we've only run about 5 laps total green on these tires.
Meanwhile, Mike Witt will get the lucky dog and get waved around once again. He will now be 11 laps down from your race leader.
He might get his 11 laps back at this rate.
He might. He possibly might. Keep an eye on that 26 machine. We'll see if he gets back on the lead lap, is able to pick up a few spots, but time will tell here as we watch on here under action. 66 laps here in this race completed as the field works their way down the back straightaway. Currently, your biggest mover of the night has to go to the 6 and the 45 of Tyler Justice and Sean Powell. They both started in 25th and 26th position. They're inside the top 5 at this time.
And I'll give a shout out as well to Bill Petroff. Remember, he wasn't allowed to qualify. He started all the way at the back of the field, and he has not made his way up much further in the field, but that's because he just came down pit road under that last caution. So he has had a clean day. He survived all the way until now, and he's on the freshest tires of anybody, along with Mark Kalin, Lou Christian, a couple other drivers who brought it down pit road. So Bill Petroff having a great recovery drive so far, and if the strategy goes his way, I think that qualifying penalty might be a blessing in disguise for him.
Jose Medina also has picked up 10 spots as well from 24th to 14th, along with Ricky Barbary from 34th to 18th. 32nd to 19th goes to Byron McDonald. So a couple of drivers having a couple of good runs here late in the going. We'll see if they're able to pick up a few more spots as we're going to double them back up and get ready to go back green flag racing here once again from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. Of course, we're happy to have you with us here on RaceSpotTV. If you'd like to see more action on RaceSpotTV, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and hit the bell to notify when the next event of RaceSpotTV. Of course, there's always something happening here on RaceSpotTV. Joey, as we know that for a fact, more action than I have to say any other broadcasting company out there. And of course, the PRL is one of the main news staples here of the service, on with the RaceSpotTV, as they'll be back at it once again on Monday night for the PRL.
They'll be back at it again on Monday night, on Tuesday night, on Wednesday night, then back on Sunday night again. So every single day of the week except for Friday and Saturday as Precision Racing League action, different Precision Racing League action on every one of those nights. And every single one of them is always a great race, and we're seeing a very interesting race tonight. It's a very different race from what we normally see at Atlanta. A lot of team dynamics, a lot of almost chess playing, and we'll restart here in a matter of seconds.
Yes, at 180 miles an hour. You gotta love it here as we now are entering into the iRacing restart zone. Green flag is out and we're back underway. James O'Brien goes to the top side of the racetrack to join his private label teammates as they work their way through as the two Phase 2 chassis work drivers of Powell and also the driver of the 45 and Tyler Justice lead the inside lane with help from Joshua Daniels as it's 5 versus 3 as they work their way out of turn number 4. Now 4 more cars join the battle as Steve Lovings as a jockey for position down into turn 3.
That restart was perfectly rigged by Acosta and O'Brien. Acosta hung back just that little bit so O'Brien could come up, and Justice gets loose. His teammate almost turns him, Daniels.
Daniels goes around. They save the car. No caution yet, but that's going to break up the entire field for the most part as they still try to move around and jockey for position. The 57 machine of Zemke goes down below the racing groove and will try to get rejoined, but a big save by Joshua Daniels.
I don't know what caused that. I don't know if Powell got into the back of his teammate Justice or Justice just got loose or what, but that has just destroyed this pack. There's actually a little bit of a breakaway between 2 of the 5 private label Team Hype teammates as well. But look at this. It's 5 private label Team Hype drivers, and look at Joseph Hoggard just hanging out in the back of this train. He's saying, I want to play too. And these are the only guys in the fight for the lead now.
They are going to be working their way through. How about Hogard, who's been needing to have a good points run to try to see if he can battle it out for a championship? He joins the ranks. 6-car breakaway. Over 1.7 seconds separates them from Tyler Justice.
See if Justice can re-rack things. If he can work with Loving and Powell and Butler and Papineau, they still have a decent-sized group of drivers there. But the question is, can they work together to build up enough speed to bring down a full 1 second gap? That's going to be the question to be answered here. But when you've got 5 teammates working together, that's almost impossible to break up because these guys are working together to the fullest extent. They're maximizing as much speed as possible. They're not going to be slowing each other down if they can help it. And that's exactly what Tyler Justice and Sean Powell don't want to hear.
It is something that they do not want to hear as they try to battle for position. How about Corey Precker now back inside the top 15 after all the chaos that ensued for them? Now that field of drivers led by Tyler Justice starting to get themselves wound back up. They've closed the gap now to 1.4 seconds and closing in quickly to catch up to the top 6.
I don't think you're going to be seeing much change here up in this lead pack until these guys have to bring it down pit road, which I can't imagine will be until about 30 or 40 laps from now. You're just going to see O'Brien, Acosta, Dinkel, Conquer, Walter all running line astern here, and Hockard joining them as well. But I think my judgment might have been a little bit too hasty because I'm looking at Tyler Justice and the gang in the background, and they are actually catching. I didn't think they'd be able to build up the speed, but they 100% are. We saw the gap was about 1.5 seconds. It's gone down to 1.2, now 1.1. These guys are definitely coming, and the 6-car pack, the very comfortable 6-car pack, is suddenly going to become about a 13-car pack.
Make it a 14-car pack as Joao Guerrero will be that last car on the tail end of this 14-car train around the Atlanta Motor Speedway. You got to go another 3 seconds back to catch up to Corey Precker, and then another 6 seconds back to where you see Byron McDonald lead another group of about 6 or 7 cars at this time. 75 laps completed, 66 to go. Now we're starting to see jockeying for position as Brandon Walters goes to the bottom, Josh Conquer goes to the top. Trouble a little bit almost happening right there for the Phase 2 chassis work drivers as they try to jockey for position around Steve Lovings, as Sean Powell is stuck out on the bottom of the racetrack away from his teammate of Tyler Justice.
Justice was in the wall out of 2. He definitely scraped it, but got away with it. Now he's moving his way forward. This has just been an incredible recovery. It looked like it had all fallen apart, and then in a matter of about a dozen laps, they have completely recovered this race, and they are well and truly in the fight for the lead. But look at Justice. He's getting aggressive again on the bumps down the back straight. Jonathan Hoggard on the bottom is getting swallowed up, but Powell and Justice almost into the back of each other again. They're trying to figure out where to go, but they're just getting blocked by this private label team Hype Armada again.
As they work their way, trying to find a nick in the armor of this chaos here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Drivers jockeying for position, looking for opportunities to find a hole in the armor. Hogard is the only one that seems to have broken it at this time, as he's in amongst the mix of this 5-6 car drivers of the private label team Hype, as he will now push Brandon Walters out to the race lead here in Atlanta around James O'Brien. Will he go up to the top, or will he stay down to the bottom? He decides to stay close to the bottom of the racetrack here as they come across the line. 64 laps to go.
Look at Hoggard on the bottom. He's going to take the lead. He's broken up the 5 private label team Hype drivers, and as an independent, or as the only driver who isn't a private label team Hype driver in this top 6, he's managed to pass them all, and he's managed to take the lead. That is such an interesting dynamic, and he's going to be very happy to get the lead a lap here. Don't count him out for the win here. He might have a very hungry team ready to swallow him up, but he's just proven that he can get in front of him somehow.
As the first time a non-private label driver has led a lap here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway race, as Rye Jones has taken it behind the wall. That's now putting at 4 cars that are going to be DNF here tonight. As we are at 25 cars on the lead lap, Tom Amacy, the last car on the lead lap, some 20 seconds back behind from your race leader as they work their way out of turn number 4, 2 by 2. You got to go at least 10 rows deep just to watch these drivers battling it out for position, As they work their way through the middle of turns 1 and 2, it's going to be Trent Dinkle who will lead that outside lane with help from Walters and O'Brien. Then you have Hogard with help from Conquer, as we now see one car go to the top side. That looked like to be the 77 maybe, or the 27 actually, who goes to the top side lane.
Justice working on the high line as well, but look at Dinkle here on the exit of turn 4. He didn't do it that time, but on the last lap and a couple other times, he has just been running extremely high on the exit of 4. I don't know if it's intentional, he's trying to carry a little bit of extra speed, or he's just washing up, but he's had troubles through turn 4 for the entirety of the race. He got it under control that time. Walter trying to figure out a place to go. They're all squirrely here, and they can't get away from Joseph Hogard on the bottom either.
60 laps to go. We've already crossed the halfway point of tonight's race. 30 minutes left to go on the clock, so it's going to be a tight one here as they continue to battle and jockey, sidewind their way across the front straightaway here. Dinkle and Walter lead the field on the top side. Hogar and Conquer down on the bottom of the racetrack side by side as they work out a turn number 2 down the back straightaway. It's going to be a who's who's of who will take home the checkered flag, and it will finish on time or on laps.
I'm not really a fan of the amount of squirming down the back straight that I'm seeing. It wasn't a great exit from Hogard, and then Josh Conquer couldn't quite figure out where to go. He was just kind of squirming around, figuring out, do I push him on the left or the right or what? And he luckily didn't get into the back of Hogard, because that would have been an instant turn down the back straight. But there is a lot of squirming, a lot of wiggling down the back straight. Drivers just can't seem to figure out where to place the car. And I hope it doesn't end badly. It's ended badly a couple times so far tonight, but they stay 2 by 2, and that gives them a little bit of extra wiggle room to get their wiggles out of the way, I guess.
One driver I have to say who's in the catbird seat has to be none other than Ricky Barbary and Byron McDonald. Those guys have a little bit of a gap from this lead pack right now, as we see Ricky Barbary, the last car on this 13-car train of the field. He is able to, if something were to happen up front, have enough time maybe to back it down and not get involved with any of the incident that may happen in front of him. But we also have to see if he's going to be able to survive it if it were to happen later on in the going, because these guys are just all over the place. The tires are practically falling off here as they continue to log laps around this circuit. They currently have had about almost 30 laps on their tires for your top 10 at this time, making top 11, so they are really starting to feel the pressure of these tires starting to fade away.
They are. Hogard goes up on the high line now, takes the lead from Dinkle up top. I think he thinks that's the place to be right now, but Conquer's going to take over the bottom. He's going to make it work. He's got a teammate in James O'Brien. He's got Elliott Butler, who has somehow made his way up into this lead pack again. Conquer's making the bottom work, but the top just seems like such a strong place to be for Dinkle, for Walter, for Hogard. Dinkle goes down to the bottom as I say that now, and they're all going to leave Hogard all on his lonesome on top.
Josh Conquer, of course, not only when he is racing here in the PRL Cup Series, he's also a world-class kart racer competing all across the United States and Canada, as he is trying to hold strong racing for the race lead here at Atlanta. He is also known not only for his road course racing skills, but his oval racing skills here on the service, as he has picked up multiple wins across the PRL Championship here for the PRL Cup Series as they work their way out of turn number 2. Joseph Hogard trying to find some openings here as he tries to get back up towards the front of the field, and now Elliott Butler, one of the new competitors, down to the bottom of the racetrack.
Butler going to try and join the pack of this 4-car. Oh, Walter gets very, very loose on the exit of turn 4. I almost thought he was bringing it down pit road with how deep he got down there into the bottom of the corner. But again, they have formed up, the private label Team Hype drivers have. 1, 2, 3, 4 in line. They've lost Abner Acosta to the high line. He almost washes up into the wall. The yellow car in the background of your screen there. So he's lost. He's a lost cause at the moment, but his teammates are all still formed together. And oh, Hogard's in the wall.
Just gets a little bit of scratch right there by the YS Motorsports machine. I believe that's the final bullet in the YS Motorsports team, as Precker as well as Clayton Ham got involved together in incidents early on in the going. As he is now going to go 3 wide as Abner Acosta now tries to find his way back up through the field. He sits in 9th. That's the lowest he's been since tonight's action, as they jockey more for position here side by side between Kalen and the 55 machine, as well as they work through the middle of 3 and 4.
And that breakup of the pack that we saw when Justice and Powell and Daniels got into trouble, that has distracted us from the fact that a lot of drivers did just bring it down pit road under that previous caution. Ricky Barbary, Mark Kalin, all those guys are on fresher tires, and you can see the effects. Look at how quick Mark Kalin is up on the high line. It's not the most amount of additional freshness in the world. There's only 9 less laps on Mark Kalin's tires, but it's clearly had an effect, and it's clearly working for him, because you can literally see how much quicker and how much more comfortable he is right now.
Currently right now as they come across the line, Tyler Justice stuck to the top side of the racetrack. Mark Kalin will pass him on the inside in the middle lane, move him up to P11 at this time as he tries to find an opening to get around Eric Papineau for the 10th spot in a 37 machine. Lap traffic up ahead as Tom Macy will be the next car to be put a lap down in the 05 machine. As they come out of turn number 4, throw in also, I believe that's Clayton Ham, as he will go another lap down in his number 7. So this is going to get exciting to see how our race leader, Josh Conker, will navigate through the lap traffic as they go to the bottom of the racetrack. You're right on board with Conker as they go down the back straightaway. Good opportunity for them to make the pass as he works through the back straightaway, dives it down to the bottom, completes that pass with James O'Brien, Trent Dinkle, and Brandon Walters following behind.
If I was a lapped car, I'd personally choose to go down to the bottom just because the top line is a very difficult place to be. We've seen so many drivers just washing up all the way to the wall just because that's how they have to drive it. So when there's a lapped car basically in the wall up there, it makes for a very, very treacherous situation. But everybody doing a good job navigating through. Clayton Ham gets a little bit dicey. Kalin has to swerve down below the apron, and Steve Loving and Papineau, and there it is. That's what can happen. And Loving's around.
Steve Loving was having such a great run in his 27 Chevrolet as he'll stop right there in the middle of the racetrack, let other competitors go around, and then take it down below the racing groove. As the caution is out, let's take a look and see what happened. I believe it's Papineau and Steve Loving to get together right there and collects Clayton Ham involved with it.
Yeah, Eric Papineau, that wasn't, I wouldn't place blame on Clayton Ham there. I wouldn't park the car up there if I was a lapped car, but he left as much room as he humanly possibly could. He was literally against the wall, and Eric Papineau just a little bit out of control, did not give Steve Loving enough room, and it's ended in tears for both of them. That's the second caution tonight that Papineau's been involved with. But I'd expect to see every single driver here bring it down pit road. 47 laps to go. You can make it to the end from here, and I think everybody's coming in here.
I think one car might have decided to stay out. Nope, I believe he came down pit road as well. Oh, trouble for the 20. What happened to Skip Gandy?
Gandy already multiple laps down. So I don't know if he got a little bit of help there or if he just lost it on a downshift or something, but another driver who's had a bad day, whose day's just gotten a little bit worse. But now we see the race off pit road. I expect everybody to put on 4 tires as well this time, but I don't think Mark Kalin has. Mark Kalin has not put tires. He's going to have some 60 laps on these tires by the end of the race if we don't bring it down pit road again. That's a very interesting call by Mark Kalin.
Very interesting call indeed. Now as he will win the race off the pit road, followed by Josh Conker, James O'Brien, Trent Dinkle, and Brandon Walters, who are top 5 as they race off of pit road. A couple of other cars still on the track to make sure they get their damage repaired as Gandy gets black clear along with Byron McDonald for their incident on pit road entry as we watch Mark Kalin leave the field for the first time tonight.
I don't know how this strategy is going to play out. We were just talking about him in the previous stint. We were talking about how much fresher his tires were than the rest of the field, and now instantly he finds himself in the opposite place. He's going to have the oldest tires of literally any car in the field. Checking his phone to amuse himself under caution. I can relate to that, but he's going to be in a very difficult world here on the restart, and he's going to have to hold back in a literal entire field of fresh-tired cars. Mark Kalin's got a lot of experience here at the PRL. He's got a lot of experience on tracks like this, but this is a tall ask for any driver.
As we watch here under caution once again at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. Lights are off on the pace car. Joey, it's time to go. 45 laps left to go in the race. 23 minutes left to go on the clock. I think it's going to be safe to say we'll probably finish this race under time.
I think we will finish it under time, and that might be good for Mark Kalin. If we get multiple yellows, if we keep the lap count down every time that happens, that's exactly what Mark Kalin wants. But we've got to get those yellows first, and he's got to survive at the front of the field first.
He certainly does, as they're going to line up 2 by 2. Currently, right now, it is 25 cars on the lead lap. Mike Witt, of course, is the first car to be laps down in 26th position. 4 cars are out of the race. That is Rye Jones, Scotty Johnson, Chris Hudson, and Kevin Bro. I believe also, if I look at speed timing, Robert Besaw Jr. is on pit road. Baron Hilton also on pit road. They are also done for the most part here tonight, unless they decide to rejoin the track. Field working their way out of turn number 4. Benny, the pace car driver, in the iRacing pace car will make the hard left turn down onto pit road as they enter the iRacing restart zone. It is going to be Kalin and Josh Conker who will lead them. Green flag is out, and we're back underway. Kalin gets a good jump, but it might be detrimental for him as he is now going to get swallowed up by the fresh tire drivers as they start to build the momentum on the field and now work their way through the middle of turns 1 and 2. James O'Brien looking to go to the outside lane. He'll get in front of his teammate of Josh Conker as they work their way down across the back straightaway here. It is going to be James O'Brien and Josh Conker with a head of steam. Trent Dinkle and Abner Acosta will follow suit, along with the 45 of Sean Powell. Field working their way through in the middle of turn 3 and 4, and it's going to be Kalin on the bottom with help from Brandon Walters. Drivers jockeying for position as they come out of turn number 4 across the start-finish line. 43 laps to go, 22 minutes left to go on the clock as they continue to work their way back into turns 1 and 2. Competitors now trying to find their way around Mark Kalin, who has the not freshest tires at this time, and as they work their way down the back straightaway, it's going to be detrimental for Kalin as he is now back into the 5th spot at this point in time.
Falling back into 5th, and he's only falling further. You can see the top line just swallowing him up. Papineau gets by. Butler's going to get by. Hoggard on the top as well. And it's all going to swallow up Mark Kalin. But we'll see later in the run if things start to equalize. He might have a bigger shot, but right now it's not working out at all for Mark Kalin, and I can't really say that's a surprise.
I have to agree with you on that, Joey, as the field now starts to break away a little bit. Your top 3 actually has stretched it out to about a 0.4 of a second lead over Abner Acosta, who sits in 4th.
And again, it's just the private label team hype drivers all finding each other, all working together. It's just a foregone conclusion almost in this race. Every time we have a restart, they all manage to find each other. Josh Conker is the lone wolf, I guess. He's not with the rest of his teammates, but I have a feeling he'll finally meet them a little bit later. But it's just the power of having, or not Josh Conker, the other driver who is not with them, but it's the power of having teammates. That's the point here. You have 5 teammates, you have a whole armada, and you all get to work together and you all get to dominate the race, and it is working absolutely perfectly for these guys.
Just want to give an update. Clayton Ham has taken it behind the wall here as we ride on board with the 11th place driver of Lou Christian. First time we get to mention him tonight here in the 21 machine. Has had a pretty decent night after starting in 31st position. He's one of our biggest movers of the night, gaining 20 spots currently, looking to see if he can break into the top 10 for the first time here tonight.
Lou Christian, I think the only time I mentioned him was on a previous caution. I believe he followed Mark Kalin into the pits under the last caution when they both put tires on the car, but Christian's gone a different way. He put new tires on that last caution, unlike Kalin, and he is seeing the effects of it. He's joined to the back of the field here. He's joined to the back of the lead fight, and he is well and truly in the fight. He could take a win here. Joshua Daniels is going to get by him in the race spot car on the high line, but Christian holding very, very well here, and he's sitting pretty if there's some drama up front.
He certainly is as the field works their way back into turns 1 and 2. 38 laps to go in the race as they work their way out of turn 2 down the back straightaway. Tyler Justice, Sean Powell, the 2 Phase 2 chassis work machine drivers trying to get a run going on the outside lane to catch up to Brandon Walters, who sits 11th. He's got help from Byron McDonald's, Joshua Daniels, and Elliott Butler, who lead that outside lane. Actually, scratch that, Butler's on the inside lane at this time.
These two Phase 2 chassis works drivers, they could really use a third teammate right now. If Richard Regan Jr. was around, I think he'd be helping these guys move a little bit further forward. But they're only 2 cars. It's better than 1 car, but it has not been the easiest day for Justice and Powell. They ran into each other at one point. They've had their ups and downs, but it's just so difficult to have only 2 drivers to break up the armada up front. But they're still in the top 10. Ricky Barbary down there on the bottom. That's close through the quad oval. Actually, that's not Ricky Barbary. That's the number 97 of James Dewar. Pat Harvey as well. They're navigating through. Only a couple dozen laps to go here as we do go down on time. The intensity's ramping up. There's not going to be another stop as far as I know, unless there's a caution and somebody chooses that they need to put on tires. But this is the race for the win right now, and if you're going to make a move, you've got to make it quick.
Looking at about 15 to 16 minutes left to go in the race right now, so it is going to be a race to on time by the looks of it. 106 laps completed out of the scheduled 140 as the field works their way down the back straightaway. It is James O'Brien who leads the charge here in the front of the field. It's a 4-car private label team hype field, and then of course the next car, the non-private label driver of Eric Papineau, Joseph Hogard, Ricky Barbary, who's having the drive of his night here in 7th position, looking to get his first top 10 of the season.
His first top 10 of the season's looking pretty likely right now, but anything can change. Hogard goes up there on the top line. 18 minutes left in the session is what we're hearing. 33 laps to go. So if they do go green the rest of the way, we can make it to lap number 140. But that is without caution. And speaking of almost cautions, 3 wide with James Dewar and Tyler Justice, but they get away with it. Oh, for now at least.
Take it 3 wide again as they now see Tyler Justice dropping back into 17th after James Dewar and Waldo Walden move up into the top 15.
There's quite a breakaway here. Look at this gap to the back. Pat Harvey really holding these guys up, or I guess they're all holding each other up. Powell can't move forward, Dewar can't move forward, Justice can't move forward, and Zemke can't move forward. These guys are just all flailing over each other, and it is killing them as they've lost Lou Christian to the tune of
trouble in front, and caution around. Papineau goes around. Trouble for Zemke, and Tyler Justice. Look at the emotion right there. That's I don't know if that's a sigh of relief or a sigh of disbelief, as he, I believe, might have made slight contact to Zemke, as Benny the pace car driver has no cares whatsoever. He'll go right through the 57 machine of Zemke as Zemke tries to unstuck himself on the banking.
You got to back up there, Adam. I don't think you can drive up onto the banking there, but Zemke, I think he's got it going now. I don't think he took a tow, but that's made things very interesting. I think we will be on time right now. We will be racing on time. 30 laps to go. Not enough time to finish all the laps, but here's the cause of the caution. Papineau, again, he just fades up into Hogard, and Papineau, that's been a streak with him, unfortunately, in this race. He just has not been leaving the guys room on top that they need. And for the 3rd time, it's ended in that number 37, pointing in the wrong direction.
I want to get another look at the driver of either Tyler Justice, who might have made contact. I want to see if he actually did hit the 57 of Adam Zemke, if at all possible. But now as the field paces behind the pace car, here we go. Tyler Justice riding on board. Does he hit Zemke? Oh, yes, he did. Just slight contact right there on the passenger side nose right there. So tough break for Tyler Justice. He almost makes it through, goes to the top side to avoid Papineau, and then just could not get low enough to get around Zemke.
Well, remember earlier in the race, I'd almost forgotten at this point, but Tyler Justice, under the first caution, got heavy damage. He spent 1.5 minutes in the pits getting all the damage fixed, and after that he was perfectly fine and continuing to fight for the lead. So I can't imagine he'll be especially stressed about a little bit of nose damage if his pit crew can fix that damage. I saw a bunch of drivers bringing it down pit road there. I saw Adam Zemke, of course, bringing it down pit road, and a couple others, but for the most part, it's still the same order that we saw before the caution came out. All the private label team hype guys, then Butler, Hoggard, Walter, a bunch of other guys who have always been in the top 10. They're still up here in the top 10. They have not elected to bring tires onto their cars.
Nope, they decided track position is king at this point in time. With 15 minutes left to go in the race, is going to be less than 15 minutes left to go in the race. That is going to be the critical situation for your race leader, James O'Brien, as the field now paces behind Benny the pace car driver. As we work our way around, currently 24 cars on the lead lap. Zemke, the first car to one lap down, who was involved in that last caution.
Drivers who brought it down pit road were Waldo Walden, Sean Powell, Bill Petroff, Corey Precker, Mark Kalin, Tyler Justice, Eric Papineau, and Steve Loving is still in the pits. So those are the drivers who elected to put on new tires. No surprise that Mark Kalin finally decided to do that, but we haven't talked much about Waldo Walden. We've talked about Bill Petroff moving up through the back of the field. We've only run about 16, 17 laps on these tires under green, but we saw the effect that had on Mark Kalin in the stint before the previous stint, so I truly wonder how far can they move their way forward in the field with just a little bit fresher rubber. It's going to give them some extra speed, but is it enough to break through 17 cars ahead of them?
How about Tom Macy, who was at one point almost was a lap down at one point, now back inside the top 15, as he will now have a chance to maybe get a top 10 finish as we look through the field. But yeah, looking through the field, your biggest mover currently is Luke Christensen and Ricky Barbary, gaining 20 and 22 spots. Byron McDonald has gained 25 spots currently at this time, running in the 6th position. Biggest loser, I have to say, as far as losing the most positions, has to go to Clayton Ham and Scotty Johnson, starting 6th and 7th. They're running 28th and 30th. Or they will finish, I would say, because they are both pretty much out of the race. As the pace car makes the hard left turn, they enter the iRacing restart zone. As the field gets ready to start, green flag is out, and we are back underway to finish this one out. The 4 drivers of private label team hype get themselves sorted out for position, but I think Elliott Butler's going to try to put a stop to it. He tries to get in line, but can't get in front of Abner Acosta at this time, as they work their way back through the middle of turns 1 and 2. 4-car private label team hype train, and we see Butler try to find the opening.
Butler up to the high line. Starting to see the first movement up there on the top line. Walter doesn't go up there. I thought he might and try and jump Elliott Butler. Or try and jump the 96 of Elliott Butler. Oh, and Byron McDonald and Brandon
Walters.
Oh dear, it ends as soon as we started talking about it. The Craftsman car. Oh dear. That is a heavily damaged motor vehicle.
Brandon Walters, your defending Atlanta race winner, will not get a chance to defend, as Byron McDonald just
way too
cleared and goes way too low.
Yeah, Elliott Butler and Byron McDonald, both very similarly liveried cars, so it's easy to get them confused, but that was the number 8 of McDonald just going down way too low, didn't leave Walter enough room. There's a little bit of netcode that kind of sucked them together, but that was just not enough room left for Walter, and it all ended in tears, and that is the first bullet gone for the private label team hype armada here. They only have 4 cars left now. I say only, that's still more than anybody else in the field, but they do have 1 less driver to help defend a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 finish for the team. Ten minutes to go. I see that's the driver with damage bringing it down pit road. There's no reason for anybody else to bring it down pit road now. They've all committed to their strategies. That's Joao Guerra. He was having a good race. He was having a solid recovery drive, but just drove straight into the nose of Brandon Walter, who was turned there in the quad oval. Bad luck for Joao Guerra. Another race can end in tears for him. 10 more minutes. The intensity's high, and I truly have no idea who's going to win this thing.
Interesting to see the situation here as they continue to watch on the action, as we see Josh Conker and the rest of the field going. Not under 10 minutes left to go in the race. It's safe to say we're going to see probably about under 6 or 7 minutes left to go in the race when we go back green flag racing.
Now, if I'm one of these drivers who's starting 5th or worse, if I'm not a private label team hype driver, I'm starting to think, how the heck in the world do I win this race? How am I going to find a hole in the armor to pierce my way through and take the lead? If I'm Josh Daniels, Elliott Butler, Ricky Barbary, even Byron McDonald, who is somehow still restarting in 8th, all these guys are the closest possible drivers. They're right there, but how do you get by a wall, an immovable object? I truthfully have no idea. And if I was a betting man, I would pick either the 33, the 54, the 9, or the 5 as the winner of this race. But crazier things have happened.
It's going to be crazy indeed here for this last few minutes of the race as the lights are out on the pace car. Drivers are now getting themselves doubled up for this hopefully possible last attempt of a restart, and we'll try to go green to the finish as we watch on here and continue to see what's going to happen here tonight.
What is going to happen here tonight is the question of the century. We haven't been able to predict that all night. Just about everything that we can possibly think of has happened. We've had 4 wide action. We've had everything but a flip, but it's all been dominated by the same guys, which is why I'm very confident in those 4 drivers, in their ability to stick together and win this race. But we've seen teammates fall apart. We've seen the Phase 2 Chassis Works guys come together and self-destruct a little bit. We've seen the YS Motorsports guys look so fast, and they've all fallen out of the race except for Hoggard. So who in the world knows who's going to win this thing? Like I said in the intro, it's going to be truly nuts.
It certainly is going to be exciting. We're happy to have you with us here on RaceSpotTV for the last remaining minutes of the PRL Cup Series, live from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. And if you want to see more great racing action, don't forget, next week we head to a short track, one of the shortest tracks on the season for the PRL, at New Hampshire. As the pace car heads down pit road, they enter into the iRacing restart zone. Green flag is out. We're back underway here for the last remaining minutes here at Atlanta. James O'Brien checks out on the field over Trent Dinkle. Josh Conker on the outside with Abner Acosta trying to see if he can fit him in to where it can be a 4-car breakaway for the private label team hype drivers, but not quite yet. Now he goes to the bottom. Joshua Daniels still stays to the top side. Ricky Barbary now getting into the top 7.
Going to be around 6 minutes and 45 seconds to go at the line. That means about 14 laps to go. And I think once we get inside about 10 to go, that's when being a private label team hype teammate kind of falls apart. That's when it's every driver for himself, and every driver wants to win this race. It might even be as late as 5 to go, but whenever it is, that team will fall apart. It will become an individualistic anarchy, and one of those drivers is going to have to win the race and ditch his teammates.
Field now trying to jockey for position here in the closing stages of tonight's race. Drivers trying to find openings, trying to find the runs, as we're going to go 3 wide out of turn number 4 with several competitors as Luke Christensen and the SGG eSports Octane machine drops back, having such a good run, and now falls all the way outside the top 15. As he's trying to find an opening to get his way back up through the field. Drivers jockeying for position. Sean Powell goes 3 wide. Kogard almost contact with Butler as the 26 of Mike Witt goes around. Stuck on the racetrack. No yellow yet, as we stay green here at Atlanta as they work their way out of turn number 4.
It was a single car crash at the back of the field. Those usually aren't yellows, and Mike Witt's gotten out of the way, so no real surprise there. Look at Ricky Barbary all over the back of Abner Acosta. He had an incredible run, but he had nowhere to go with it. Hoggard trying to find out a place to go. Powell trying to find out a place to go. If I was Ricky Barbary here, I'm going up on the top. I'm not accosting Abner Acosta like he is right now. But because he's chosen to stick behind Acosta, he's going to stay in about 7th place as Powell and Justice go running forward.
Oh, Powell almost goes to the outside wall. Justice has to check up a little bit. This now opens the door for Barbary. 3 wide as they go into turn the 1 and 2. Kalen gets pushed down below the line.
Well done by Joshua Daniels to check up there, let Kalen come up. But Abner Acosta is just getting destroyed in the rear.
Brian gets
Ricky
turned
Barbary.
into the wall. Sean Powell collects him. And the big one.
Literally the whole field. Acosta makes it through. Nobody else does. That is insanity. Literally the entire field collected here in Atlanta. And Sean Powell just broadside across the field. Literally everybody involved.
Oh my goodness. And with that, Abner Acosta takes over the race lead. Trent Dinkle moves up to P2. As chaos ensues in the closing moments here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Let's take a look at the replay as drivers are trying to jockey for position, and looks like Powell tried to get a run, hits James O'Brien in the wrong spot. And there you see the chaos ensue. Multiple drivers, pretty much every private label team driver involved in this one, and along with everybody else, I think it's safe to say, who hasn't been hit in this race incident.
Yeah, here's an earlier view here so we can see what really happened. James O'Brien running on the top. Powell's got a run, but he pushes. No, it was a normal push by O'Brien, and then he just fades a little bit, just gets a little bit squirrely, and Sean Powell keeps pushing, and then it just all falls apart. Nothing really malicious there, but that's what can happen when you're getting this aggressive at this late stage of a race, and it was just a wrong push that just ended in the worst possible way. But you saw Costa make it through. You saw Dinkle make it through remarkably. Hoggard made it through. McDonald made it through. Kalen made it through completely cleanly. Getting shoved down into the apron in turn one was a blessing in disguise for him. And Corey Precker's still alive as well.
With that, it is 3 minutes left to go in the race. I think it's safe to say the race will end under caution as the field continues to pace behind, as several drivers have taken it behind the wall. Waldo Walden, Steve Loving, Eric Papano, Joao Guerrera. Their nights are done here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Right on board with Acosta. Watch how he avoided this chaos.
There was no avoiding action there. He was just along for the ride, and he got very, very lucky, but sometimes that's exactly what you need to do. If you're too aggressive, if you're too intuitive, and you swerve to where you think the cars are going to be or where they're not going to be, that's how you get involved in the wreck. But Acosta just kept it pointing straight, and it all worked out for him. He doesn't have the lead. Let's ride on board with Hoggard here. He made it through too. He can't really see what's going on because it's so far ahead. Now he can see the smoke. Now he can see cars all over the place. And perfectly avoided. Perfectly avoided by Joseph Hoggard. Well done.
Well done indeed, as he gets their way around the circuit. We should be maybe seeing lights out on the pace car possibly this time. Yes, indeed. Lights are out on the pace car.
Does Dinkle have damage? Because he was involved in that caution. We saw Acosta make it through. We saw Hoggard make it through. But Dinkle's the leader because he was the leader at the time the caution came out. But I think he was in that massive kerfluffle, and I think that car is damaged. So if we do restart here, which we will, I think he's going to the back of the field.
Right, I'm on board right quick with Mark Kalen as we work with the field. Let's see how he got through the chaos here. Oh,
yeah, look,
almost.
Dinkle got destroyed.
Yeah, Dinkle did get severe damage to the nose and to the rear end of that number 9 Chevrolet, but for some reason still is able to lead the race once again. But I think now that we're about to go back green flag racing, that car is going to struggle here when we take the green.
He was definitely hoping that we'd end under caution, but unfortunately for him, the cautions go by pretty quick here, and we're going to have, depending on how the clock goes down, it's going to be a 1-lap or a 2-lap shootout between just about everybody up here except for Trent Dinkle. I think it'll be 1 lap because the pace speed's so slow.
40 seconds left on the clock as Benny, the pace car driver, will make that hard left turn down pit road. There you see Trent. Let's see how he's able to find a way to hold this race lead. It's going to be difficult, but he's going to give it his best shot out of turn number 4 into the iRacing restart zone. 20 seconds left when they take the green. Green flag is out. He gets a major jump on the field as he tries to pull away and see if he can lead away from the field as Abner Acosta chases him in hot pursuit.
But you can already see that car is ailing. He's going to get swallowed up here. He's already getting chased down by Acosta. Is Acosta going to help him at all? Will he push his teammate to help him stay in second? I think he actually will. That is incredible teamwork by Abner Acosta. But can Hoggard do anything here? This is the end.
This is the final lap out of turn number 4. Byron McDonald collects up into the outside wall, and as they come out of turn number 4, Acosta tries it, sliding across the line, and
Hoggard wins.
Hoggard wins the race. Dinkel gets second, Brecker third, Acosta fourth.
Wow. That was insane, and the teammates all fall apart. Dinkel's not too unhappy about that. He seems to be laughing about it, but wow. The private label team hype drivers, the Armada, we talked about it for the whole race. They seemed indestructible, and Hoggard steals it.
Hoggard steals and breaks the threshold on the private label streak of 2 races in a row, as Joseph Hoggard will win for YS Motorsports, who's had a strong run here tonight.
That is just one of the most incredible finishes I have ever seen. Taylor, you've raced in this series. I've been watching this series and calling this series for many seasons, and that is one of the most wild finishes I have ever seen in any of these PRL races, let alone only the Cup Series. Let's take a look here. This was the restart. You could see Dinkel. He just got such an incredible jump. And Acosta, the 2 teammates were definitely talking about this. They were definitely talking. Acosta probably said, I will push you for as long as possible to preserve the 1-2. But once we get to those final couple corners, I'm not letting you win this race with a jalopy. So down the back straight, Acosta's clearly getting held up here. Hoggard goes up to the high line, tries to take advantage of any momentum he can get. In the background, Byron McDonald gets spat into the wall. Acosta almost turns Dinkel. He gets to the inside. He's not going to win the race. Dinkel wrecks him, and Hoggard gets by. That is absolute insanity on the final lap. And the private label team hype drivers, they rob each other of the win.
They certainly do. Here is your final finishing results after 126 laps. It is Joseph Hoggard, followed by Trent Dinkel, Corey Precker, Abner Acosta, Mark Kalin. Brandon Walters comes back to finish P6 with Jose Medina 7th, Adam Zemke 8th, and Lou Christensen breaks into the top 10 with Bill Petroff finishing in 10th. 11th is going to be Byron McDonald, followed by Joseph Daniels, the last car on the lead lap, then Tom Macy, Waldo Walden, Josh Conker, James O'Brien, Elliott Butler, James Dewar, Sean Powell, Tyler Justice, your top 20. Ricky Barbary, Pat Harvey, Eric Papanoy, Steve Lovings, Joao Guerrera, Skip Gandy, Mike Witt, Clayton Ham, Ry Jones, Scotty Johnson in the 30th position, and then Robert Beasaw Jr., Baron Hilton, Chris Hudson, Kevin Bro, and Bradley Hawley finish 35th. With that, we will see if any of our amazing finishers, as we do see a couple of drivers make their way in. Here comes Trent Dinkel to join us here in the booth to talk about his interesting finish in second place, and he is going to join us here momentarily. But Joey, a lot of things crazy happening here as Trent Dinkel joins us. Trent, walk us through what happened coming to the checkered flag.
I think there was a little bit of a miscommunication with me and Abner. But it's fine. I wanted him because I know my car got a little beat up in that last wreck, and honestly I'm surprised that I didn't get a meatball. And I said push me all the way to the end, and unfortunately I literally got pushed. It just got me squirrely coming out of 4, and then I was trying to gather it up, and then I got him, and unfortunately a 1-2 went to a 2-4. But I mean, it was still a good race. I'm more just happy that we all finished. At least 2 of the cars out of the team finished. So yeah, that was a crazy last restart.
It certainly was, but of course, a strong performance by the team up until that last caution, of course. What do you think the racing here in Atlanta has shown for the drivers here at this circuit, given the fact this is the brand new configuration?
So I mean, honestly, we were out in the front for a good bit, or I mean, most of the race. We're never in like a big gaggle of cars, but I mean, it's definitely not just hold it to the floor and go around the track a bunch of times, because I mean, there was times where when we were running up top going into 3, I mean, I would get so tight I would have to hit the brakes to get the car to finally turn, and then it would just check up the whole line or coming out of 2 on the top, it would be loose, and trying to make sure we were lifting enough to save the tires at the beginning, but then still have tires at the end to be able to win the race. And yeah, that was a crazy finish to the race, honestly.
Well, Trent, before we let you go, who would you like to say thank you to?
Big thanks to Team Hype. I mean, Abner, James, Josh, Brandon, we all worked super good today. It was just a little bit of a goof up at the end, but it's no harm, no foul. Big thanks to Private Label, Ethica, iLiveries. I'm sure my mom probably just had a heart attack watching the finish of that, so hopefully she had fun watching that too.
Well, congratulations on your podium finish here tonight, Trent, as we now catch up with third place finisher Corey Precker. He's with Joey Tebben.
Bringing Corey Precker in here, the second highest finishing YS Motorsports driver. Corey, when that last lap started, did you expect to finish third?
Oh boy, I was just kind of going in and trying to lick the stamp and send it, and just hope for the best. I saw Dinkle kind of got into a little bit of a issue going. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, I just kind of just held my foot on the throttle and just hoped for the best. I was hoping I wouldn't get wrecked too, because I had actually had 20 incident points, and I think you get disqualified at 24, so that could have been easily I think it's like 30 some points for third place, so I think that could have easily gone down to 0 points, from 30 points to 0 points. So I'm just grateful I got third and finished that race clean.
Yeah, and talk us through some of those 20 X's that you accrued. We saw you in a lot of incidents, but I don't think really any of them were your fault. You just seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Talk us through what it was like from your perspective.
Yeah, it's just it was kind of mayhem out there. I know I went one incident. It was four wide going out of turn 2, and I just kind of I couldn't go anywhere. I just had all of a sudden I had a car right in front of me, and just couldn't go anywhere. And but grateful I was always on the back run. I was I had pretty much 2 minutes worth of repairs out the whole race. At one point my car couldn't catch a draft, and towards the end I was actually able to fully repair my car. So I was not expecting the P3 finish.
Well, that's a pretty good day for your team in total for YS Motorsport. Clayton Ham got into a little bit of trouble. I don't believe he finished on the lead lap, but you finished third. Joseph Hoggard won the race. That's got to be pretty good for the team's championship.
Yeah, it's definitely good for the team's championship. I have to apologize to Clayton. I don't know. I think I got a little bit of a side draft in the incident that he got. I think I got lucky that I got out of that incident, but I apologize to Clayton. And hoping he has such bad luck. I just hope he could get a lot better luck in one of these races and finish with us. So that would be awesome if we could have a 1, 2, 3 YS Motorsports finish. But no, it's a great finish for the team's championship, and that's all I have to say. And I just have to say congrats to Joe, and we were so pumped after this result. I'm still kind of shaking. So
well, I've got very good news. We've got an even happier driver waiting. Joseph Hoggard is going to be the next driver we talk to. So that was your third place finisher, Corey Precker, but something tells me his teammate's going to be even happier talking to Taylor here.
Here with Joseph Hoggard, who joins us here in the booth. Joseph, you survived the chaos at Atlanta and steal a win away from the Private Label stranglehold. Talk to us about this win.
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know what you want me to say. I did everything I could to stay alive. I knew if I could just keep my car in one piece up until the end, that I'm pretty good at super speedway racing. So I figured I could probably find my way towards the front at the end if I could keep all 4 tires on the ground. And then I got into that accident probably, I don't know, 15 minutes before the end of the race. and I was not sure if my car would drive anymore. So I was asking people around, like, am I showing damage? The car's still driving straight, praying that it was fast, and then I'm lucky I was still quick enough. But the problem I was having is the private label team, they locked up, and anytime somebody would get a run up on them, they would just hold strong, and if you didn't get somebody to go with you, you weren't going to go past them. And so I started trying to use the bumper and moving people up the track and going underneath it, and it seemed to work. Somehow found myself in third coming off that last corner, and lucky for me, teammates took teammates out, and here we are.
Well, before we let you go, Joseph, and celebrate this victory, final thoughts, and of course, anyone you would like to say thank you to.
Yeah, there's a couple. The Yellow Stripe Motorsports team, it's who I'm running with, but the paint scheme, DEP iRacing Paints made my paint scheme for this league. He's been making my paints for quite a while, and he just does an incredible job. He's not an official sponsor because I'm not sponsored officially by anybody, but if you're ever looking for paints, the guy does an incredible job, and man, I'm looking forward to continuing on in the coming weeks.
That is, of course, your race winner, Joseph Hogard from YS Motorsports. He is your race winner and punches his way into a playoff berth, as we see him excited about that. And Tyler Justice now joins us. He is with Joey Tevin.
Tyler Justice, who is we'll wait for him to get in here before I begin my line of questioning, because I really want to talk to Tyler Justice here. Tyler, it was a tough day. It was a quick day. It was a competitive day for you and your teammate Sean Powell, but unfortunately, it all ended in that hurricane of cars, and 5 laps down is probably not what you were looking for.
No, it really wasn't. But, I mean, we came in here expecting it was going to be a crazy one, so I didn't really expect anything less than that, to be honest with you. I was just, like you said, it was a crazy one, so I was just happy to be up at the front, at the end with a shot at it. We were involved in 3 or 4 different incidents there throughout the race, and just kept fixing the damage, kept trying to run back up through there, and those teammates up the front they had the numbers, and they were doing all they could to control the lines. And that next last restart, me and Sean, we said we got to go. There was like 7 minutes left on the clock, and we were running up through there, and we were making some hay, and Sean finally got up to the front and was on the back bumper of the leader, and looks like he turned down to go underneath him to make a move, and I think James stayed kind of middle, and it kind of hooked them together and turned them the wrong way, and we ended up getting caught up in that mess as well. So it was a crazy one. Like I said, I was just glad to be at the front, at the end with a shot at it. That's all you can ask for. And this type of racing is just so situational. You don't ever know what's going to happen. So I was just glad to have a shot, and luckily we were up there, and we'll go on to next week.
Yeah, next week we go to a very different track. We go to New Hampshire, basically as different from this reconfigured Atlanta as you can possibly get. How are you feeling about that place?
I feel pretty good. New Hampshire's been a pretty good track for me, in Xfinity and stuff like that. I've yet to run laps in the Cup car, so I'll be interested to see what the differences are with the new Cup car there, but it should translate pretty well, I hope, and we'll definitely get our practice in this week and be ready for it.
All right, before we let you go, anybody you got to thank? Any sponsors that begin with an L and an M?
Yes, sir. Always got to thank Liquid Molly, man. They do some good things for us, so definitely want to thank them. Want to thank Gearhead Coffee. Thank all my teammates at Phase 2 Chassis Works. They do a great job with everything, and hopefully we can put some results in the bank coming here up pretty soon. We've had some decent speed, just got to close some of these finishes out.
All right, well, we wish you good luck in New Hampshire next week, and hopefully there are 5 more laps closer to the lead lap with you and your teammates. That was your 23rd place finisher, Tyler Justice, but a little more luck, and someone tells me he would have been a lot higher in the field. But Taylor, just absolute insanity tonight. A diverse group of drivers, a diverse group of finishing results, but nobody was happier than Joseph Hogard.
Nobody indeed was happier than Joseph Hogard with the result and his win. And if I'm thinking correctly, this might be his first career win in PRL Cup Series competition. We'll have to take a look at the stats, but from the 1.5-mile high banks of Atlanta, we have to go to the next circuit, the Magic Mile. It's time for something magical. Return with us next Sunday, July 17th at 8:30 p.m. as we head to the Northeast and the New Hampshire Motor Speedway for round number 4 of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series. And you'll catch all the action here live on RaceSpotTV. And with that, I have to say, Joey, it's been an exciting night, but final thoughts for you.
Well, it's always exciting to see a debut winner. It was Joseph Hoggard's first win in any PRL series, and that's just elation, and it couldn't have come in a more insane finish. 0.004 seconds was the margin at the line. Joseph Hoggard gets his first win. Just absolute insanity. In New Hampshire, it's going to be a more traditional track next week. We expect to see drivers who know how to save their tires, like Abner Acosta. They're probably going to be the guys dominating there, but you can't predict anything in the Precision Racing League, as we've seen tonight, and who knows what's going to happen next week.
Well, with that, it is time that we come to a close. Of course, for Joey Tebben, my co-host, and for our amazing producer, Hugo Luis, I'm Taylor Burris. Thank you for watching this round of the PRL Cup Series live on RaceSpot TV. Congratulations to Joseph Hoggard for winning at Atlanta.